There we go. All right, great. All right. So normally on Martin Luther King Day, I always enjoy Martin Luther King because for me, I feel like it's kind of a day off because I can re-engage with people like Dr. Martin Luther King and Howard Thurman and Dr. Vincent Harding and all of these amazing people, Rosa Parks and all of the people that Maya mentioned. And it's an opportunity for us to look to them for wisdom and guidance. Today is a bit different. It has to be different because we are in a time and place in history where we have to be the leaders. We have to be the prophetic voices. We have to be the ones who our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren are going to look to. And so today we honor Martin Luther King. We honor the civil rights movement. We honor all of these wonderful human beings who have come before us. But I have to say, today, the spotlight is on us. We celebrate MLK Day because of what he stood for, because of what he and so many others were willing to stand for, and what they were willing to die for. But it's our turn. The work is ours to do. We are the future ancestors, and people are going to look back at this point in time and say, what were our mothers and grandfathers and fathers and grandfathers and aunts and uncles and neighbors doing and saying? I hope that they look back and say, how did they handle it? Because what was happening in the year 2025 and 2026 in the United States of America was really, really scary. But from the future, I want them to be able to say, I want them to be able to look back and say, but they did it. They came together. They showed strength. They saved our democracy. How did they do that? These are the questions I want them to be able to ask in 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years. I want them to be looking at us, the people in this room, the people in America right now, today, and say, how did they do that? And I want us to be viewed as their future heroes. So I posted on Facebook last week, I wrote, ICE has white supremacy, unlimited resources, weapons, and the power of the federal government behind them. But we have the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, and 300 million people, plus most of the outside world. So if you are feeling powerless right now, don't. We've got this. With compassion, strength, moral clarity, and each other. We've got this. So when we look at the news, what we see, what I see, is that we have so many people, the American people are coming together and they're standing up and they're showing it up and they're doing it with humor, with strength, with compassion. They are showing up with water balloons in Minnesota, blow-up costumes in Portland, goofy songs, and each in their own brilliant, beautiful, creative way. And so we have the role models, we have the examples for us today. Yesterday, as we all know, there have been protests in Minnesota all week. And yesterday there was a video, multiple videos going around there was a white supremacist he's a TikTok person, I'm not going to name him, but he wanted to show up in Minneapolis and just have a white supremacy rally. And what happened was he showed up, he had about 12 people show up with him, and then he found himself absolutely surrounded by people saying, no, that's not welcome here. We're not putting up with that. You are not welcome here. You need to go. And they were throwing water balloons at him, yes, in Minnesota when it's 0 degrees. And he was overpowered. He was overpowered, and he was scared. And do you know what happened? 2 young black men went through the crowd, put their bodies in front of him, and escorted him out safely to get into a car of random strangers to drive away. Those are the heroes. Those are the ancestors. Those are the legacy of the people like Howard Thurman and Martin Luther King. Keeping your cool, keeping your composure, keeping your dignity, keeping your compassion, keeping your sense of humanity. They're the heroes, these 2 young men. But you know who else are the heroes? They couldn't have moved through their crowd to protect this man if there weren't a crowd of thousands of people standing up to say, you are not welcome here. If the thousands of people just like you and me had not been willing to stand up, to show our strength in numbers, our voices, and say, you don't get to do that here. I think it's okay that that person felt a little bit of the fear that they have been trying to project onto other people. But we, the 300 million of us who are not wanting what we see, we're not violent people. We're showing up, but we're going to let 2 young men help escort somebody that we have contempt for through the crowd to get to safety, because we don't actually want anybody to be harmed. We just want them to go away. We just want them to go away and let us be and let us enjoy the beauty of the diversity that we have in this country. And so people are showing up, they're stepping up. Like I said, in Portland, it was the beautiful big frog suits. And people are showing up through humor and satire, the late night shows, some maybe inappropriate humor, with South Park, Those are all non-violent forms of resistance. I saw another video, and this usually Martin King sermons are kind of dignified, but I'm not going to be dignified right now because this was just funny. There was a lady that this was a TikTok video that went around. There was a white supremacist guy, reporter, doing something, and he was interviewing some other white supremacist, and she came up behind him and she's like, You're a big man. You're a big man. You're a big, big man. You're a tall man. You're a tall man. You're a big, big, tall man. You're a smart man. You're a smart man. You're a smart, 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 smart man. And it was obnoxious, and it was kind of immature, and it was nonviolent, and it was her way of saying, we see you. What you're doing is ridiculous. We're not putting up with it. That is what we have to do 300 million times in our own way. We've got this. And we can be nonviolent. But I also want to be clear that nonviolence, being nonviolent, doesn't mean not being strong. It doesn't mean not standing up. It doesn't mean just being nice, right? Where we are right now in the United States of America in 2026, just making statements of, oh, I'm very concerned with where the president is going with this. That is not going to work. That's not going to get us anywhere, because nice rhetoric is not going to be enough to stop somebody who does not believe in or value inherent dignity or human rights. We don't have to be violent, but we have to show up. I was at a Grand Valley Interfaith Network meeting, and one of the members there, as I was walking out with her, she said, you know, I'm 80 years old. I've lived most of my life. I've been wondering if this is something I'm ready to give my life up for. Random people in Grand Junction are starting to ask themselves, is this something I'm willing to give my life for? And that's not hyperbole. It's not rhetoric. It is getting to the point that some of us may end up having to put our bodies on the line. Some of us already have. So this is serious, and that's why I'm not just quoting Martin Luther King today, because this is real, and it's here, and it's now. And I want to end today with another Facebook post that I saw from a man in Minnesota, and he wrote a much longer post, but I'm going to just read his last few paragraphs because I think he makes some really good points. His name is Kent Nurburn, and he is talking about what it's like to be in Minnesota. And he says, he wrote, right now, everyone is fueled by the adrenaline of rage. You can go a long way on anger and hate, and surely the ICE agents, no matter what their personal convictions, are riding on the wave of those dark emotions. The brutality and the cruelty of their actions is unconscionable. But it gets old sleeping in a motel bed, and it gets old going out in the street in 0-degree temperatures with no sense of mission purpose or mission goal, neither of which their out-of-touch leader has provided. At some point, even for those with the most pathological love of violence, the interest and the energy flags. At some point, they just want to go home. But for those of us on the other side, this is home. And if history, both recent and ancient, teaches us anything, people defend their homes with a tenacity that is unexpected by those who come in from the outside to enforce their rules or value system. Ask the Vietnamese, ask the Ukrainians. Minneapolis is the place where we live. It is not where the majority of ICE agents live. To be sure, Minneapolis isn't all kumbaya. Neither is St. Paul. No city is. But the Somalis, the Mexicans, the whites, the Jews, the blacks, the Russians, the Ecuadorians, and everyone else are all our neighbors and are all our folks who call this place home. And we are joining hands with a ferocity that I am sure Donald and his psychopathic minions never expected. Also, you cannot discount the astonishing below-the-surface organizing that took place in the wake of the George Floyd murder, and is surfacing now in service of resistance to Trump's mad directives. So as you fight off despair in this unimaginable nightmare of a descent into dictatorship at the hands of a mad king, remember that Donald Trump does not know what his ICE agents are going through, and those ICE agents were not trained for what they are going through. In many cases, it appears they were not trained at all. Now they are running through darkened streets, hounded and tracked by citizens, freezing in the Minnesota winter, while the deranged head whose hands they are supposed to be is sitting in the White House eating hamburgers and watching TV. Somewhere inside them, as the sub-zero temperatures numb their toes and the wind cuts their faces and they stare across the clouds of tear gas and plug their ears against the relentless shrill of whistles from demonstrators who will not back down, some part of them has to be thinking, I just want to go home. Meanwhile, the Minnesotans, the ones joining hands and blowing the whistles, are already home. Who, in the long run, do you want to bet on? I choose to bet on us. And we are going to close this morning with some powerful music performed by the Stanford Talisman Virtual Choir, Lift Every Voice.